Comment on the video, where are people watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. In the soft light of a crisp morning, Darnell awakens with a deep appreciation for life's unassuming pleasures. Every dawn presents him with a fresh opportunity to embrace the simple joys, a steaming cup of coffee, the gentle rustling of leaves outside his window, and the serenity that accompanies his daily walk. In these moments, nothing is trivial, every sensation contributes to a tapestry of contentment and reflection. At the center of Darnell's daily routine is his prized device, the iPhone 16 Pro Max. To him, it is far more than a modern gadget. It serves as both a window to the world and a trusted companion that records the intricate details of his everyday life. Darnell's affection for simplicity has always been an integral part of his character. He revels in the unhurried pace of his neighborhood, cherishing the familiar sounds and sights that define his community. Whether it's the soft murmur of conversation at the local coffee shop, the crisp aroma of freshly baked pastries, or the peaceful cadence of footsteps along the block, these experiences allow him to connect with life in an authentic way. The iPhone 16 Pro Max, sleek and powerful, embodies this blend of simplicity and state-of-the-art technology. It captures moments as they occur, ensuring that even the most fleeting experiences are never forgotten. Within his community, two individuals stand out who truly appreciate Darnell's approach to life, HOA and Karen. HOA is a well-respected figure known for his dedication to fostering harmony and meaningful connections among neighbors. He regularly commends Darnell for his balanced lifestyle, where modern convenience and time-honored values coexist seamlessly. His observations affirm that in a world driven by constant change, the commitment to preserving the essential joys of everyday life is both rare and inspiring. Similarly, Karen, a longtime friend and a beacon of practical wisdom, shares Darnell's reverence for life's understated beauty. She often reminds him that while technology rapidly evolves, the simple pleasures, the ones that ground us and bring genuine happiness, are what truly matter. As Darnell steps out into the vibrant morning, he is fully attuned to the lively spirit of his neighborhood. Every smile exchanged with a passerby, every nod from a familiar face at the local market, contributes to an ever-growing mosaic of shared experiences. These seemingly insignificant interactions provide him with constant affirmation that life's value is rooted not in grand gestures or extravagant possessions, but in the routine exchanges and heartfelt moments that color each day. Carrying the iPhone 16 Pro Max in his hand, Darnell is always ready to document the raw beauty of life around him. It is this blend of modern technology and simple living that fuels his passion for storytelling. Through his lens, every ordinary day is transformed into a narrative of wonder and quiet celebration, a narrative that resonates deeply with HOA, Karen, and countless others who believe that the essence of life is found in the details. In this tranquil beginning, Darnell affirms his commitment to embracing every subtle delight, forever guided by the knowledge that peace and joy are nestled within life's simplest moments. On a bright and breezy morning at the local farmer's market, Darnell strolled among the colorful stalls, greeting familiar faces and enjoying the simple pleasure of a community gathering. The market, alive with the vibrant chatter of vendors and the sweet aroma of fresh produce, had always been a place where Darnell felt deeply connected to the spirit of his neighborhood. As he stopped by a booth showcasing homemade crafts and farm-fresh vegetables, an unusual disturbance in the normally harmonious atmosphere caught his attention. A determined voice broke through the ambient hum of market activity. Standing near a stall laden with gleaming apples and ripe tomatoes was a woman with a commanding presence. She introduced herself as Linda Leppert. With a look of urgency on her face, Linda approached Darnell as if drawn by fate. In no uncertain terms, she made her demand known. Linda insisted that Darnell part with his cherished iPhone 16 Pro Max for the sum of just $1. According to her, the meager offer was not a reflection of greed but a desperate necessity. Her daughter Melissa needed the modern smartphone for her social media endeavors, specifically to harness the viral potential of TikTok and perhaps even step into the world of digital influencers. Although Darnell had always prided himself on a balanced approach to life, valuing both modern technology and time-honored simplicity, he was taken aback by the sudden request. Here was Linda, her eyes alight with passion and a sense of urgency, almost as if the future of her daughter's dreams depended on this $1 transaction. As she explained her predicament, the bustling market seemed to pause around them. Darnell listened intently as Linda described how Melissa's aspirations to become a celebrated online personality were stifled by the absence of the latest tools and technology. Linda's tone was earnest and almost pleading as she argued that the smartphone was not just a piece of technology but the essential key to unlocking Melissa's potential in a world dominated by digital trends. Darnell could see the determination in her eyes, a mix of maternal concern and ambition. Despite the simplicity of the transaction on the surface, it carried layers of personal sacrifice and societal expectations about what it meant to succeed in the modern age. Every word from Linda resonated with the promise of a better future for Melissa, a future fueled by the endless opportunities that social media could provide. Darnell, though profoundly respectful of the struggles of everyday individuals, felt a stirring of conflict. The idea of reducing an item that symbolized his connection to modern life to a mere dollar seemed incongruous with his values. With a deep breath, he prepared himself to navigate this challenging and unexpected encounter amid the hum of the market, where every gesture and word promised to reshape his day in ways he never imagined. In the midst of the lingering buzz at the farmer's market, Linda Leppert's persistence reached a new intensity. As Darnell stood by a display of seasonal blossoms, Linda's voice grew slightly more fervent. With conviction, she reiterated her plea in a measured yet desperate tone. "I only have this single dollar," Linda insisted, clutching a crumpled bill in her hand as if it were a prized possession. Her eyes shone with both hope and anxiety as she explained that the modest sum was all she could muster at the moment, a fragile offering intended solely for the benefit of her daughter, Melissa, who yearned for the potential to shine on social media platforms. Linda's argument was both simple and heart-wrenching. She spoke about the burgeoning digital world where appearances and technology reigned supreme, and how Melissa's dreams to join this dynamic realm were stifled by her lack of modern tools. The iPhone 16 Pro Max that Darnell held was far more than a communication device. It represented a bridge to connectivity, creativity, and perhaps, as Linda envisioned, a stepping stone for Melissa's burgeoning career in digital content. Every nuance of Linda's tone was imbued with genuine concern and an almost palpable urgency that echoed through the market's air. As the conversation unfolded, Darnell listened carefully. His mind recalled his own experiences of ambition and the drive to embrace change. Yet, the situation before him was unusual. A simple device had suddenly become a symbol of hope for a future that seemed, to Linda, just within reach if only a dollar could open that door. The stark simplicity of the offer, juxtaposed with the significant impact it could have on a young life, forced Darnell to reflect on the sometimes harsh realities of opportunity in the modern world. Linda's words, though softly delivered, carried an emotional weight that resonated with the struggles of many ordinary families. She explained how every digital tool now played a central role in shaping social narratives and allowed individuals like Melissa a chance to compete with even the most established voices online. While Darnell had always seen technology as a means to capture beauty and share stories, to Linda it was the very instrument that could transform potential into possibility. Caught between empathy and his own conviction, Darnell felt the pressure of the moment. Linda's desperate offer for a dollar, meant to secure an essential tool for a young dreamer, was both touching and perturbing. As the farmers' market bustled around them, the tiny exchange became a microcosm of larger social divides, the gap between aspiration and opportunity, and the subtle tug-of-war between personal values and communal responsibilities. In the charged atmosphere of the farmers' market, the conversation between Darnell and Linda intensified, drawing a small but curious crowd. Linda, standing firm with her outstretched hand holding a single dollar, saw this tiny amount as the lifeline to Melissa's opportunity for digital success. The air around them felt dense with unspoken judgments and clashing ideals. For Darnell, whose heart had always thrummed with the quiet joys of everyday life, the offer of $1 for the treasured iPhone 16 Pro Max was not just unacceptable, it was deeply symbolic of a broader misunderstanding about value and aspiration. Darnell's voice, calm yet resolute, broke through the murmuring onlookers as he explained his stance. "I'm sorry, but I can't sell my phone for just $1, he said steadily, trying to convey the significance of the device not only as a tool for connectivity but as a personal keepsake laden with memories and promises of the future. His refusal was not an act of selfishness but of respect, for both himself and for the meaning that the smartphone held in his life. Linda, however, was not prepared to accept this measured response. Her eyes flashed with indignation and frustration. "You don't understand," she retorted sharply, her voice escalating as she stepped closer. "This isn't about the phone, it's about giving my daughter Melissa a real chance. Don't you care about her future? You're holding on to something that could change her life, and all you want is to keep it for yourself." The intensity in Linda's tone swelled, and the market's hum began to quiet in deference to their escalating dispute. Passers-by exchanged glances, their expressions a blend of concern and fascination. Darnell's heart ached at the raw desperation in Linda's words, yet he remained unwavering. His belief in preserving the intrinsic value of personal belongings, particularly one that symbolized his journey through an era of rapid technological change, provided him with the strength to resist her fervent plea. "We all have dreams," Darnell responded, his voice carrying both empathy and firmness. "But it isn't right to sacrifice something important for a moment of urgency. I understand your concern for Melissa, but this isn't the way to help her." His words, measured and sincere, sought to bridge the gap between practicality and compassion. However, to Linda, his refusal sounded not like a thoughtful explanation but as a cold dismissal of a mother's plea for her child's welfare. Linda's frustration boiled over. With each word, her tone grew harsher, and she began to accuse Darnell of a lack of empathy. "You're depriving Melissa of her dreams," she yelled, her voice resonating across the stall-lined aisle. "How can you be so heartless? This isn't just a phone, it's her ticket to a better life. By refusing to sell it, you're essentially denying her a chance at happiness." The confrontation took on an edge that extended beyond a simple financial transaction. Onlookers whispered among themselves, torn between admiration for Darnell's steadfast principles and sympathy for Linda's desperate maternal hopes. Darnell felt the weight of public scrutiny, but he stood rooted in his decision. In his eyes, maintaining one's integrity, even in the face of heartfelt desperation, was paramount. Every attachment we forge with our possessions carries a history, a testament to personal growth, memories, and the subtle interplay between progress and tradition. Linda's barrage of accusations reached a fever pitch. She accused Darnell of being discriminatory, suggesting that his refusal was not just about the value of money but about his unwillingness to help bridge the gap between those who have and those who struggle. "It's not fair," she cried. "You're taking advantage of your privilege." In that moment, the dispute transcended the boundaries of a simple market disagreement, evolving into a passionate debate about social responsibility and the deep-seated inequities that often underlie such conflicts. As the tension mounted, Darnell could feel the collective gaze of the crowd. His mind raced through memories of simpler times when a conversation could be resolved with mutual understanding. Yet today, the situation had transformed into a battleground where personal values clashed head-on with the harsh realities of ambition and need. Even as Linda's heated words pierced the calm morning air, Darnell maintained a measured tone, determined to stand by his principles without yielding to the pressure of emotional outbursts. He realized that this confrontation was a poignant reflection of the complex interplay between personal integrity and the desperate quest for opportunity in an ever-changing world. In the wake of their intense verbal clash at the market, the energy around Darnell and Linda shifted dramatically. Linda's disappointment rapidly morphed into outright anger as she became convinced that Darnell's steadfast refusal was nothing short of an act of oppression. With the market's once friendly atmosphere now clouded by tension and stark confrontation, Linda's next course of action would irrevocably alter the course of the day. In a voice trembling with both fury and desperation, Linda produced her phone and dialed emergency services. The hum of the market faded into a tense silence as she began describing the scene, adamantly claiming that Darnell's refusal to part with his prized iPhone 16 Pro Max was an unjust act that endangered her daughter Melissa's future. To her, this was not a mere financial negotiation, it was an act of societal oppression, a personal affront that demanded immediate intervention. As Linda's call to 911 continued, her words took on the weight of a crisis announcement. The notion that a single refusal could escalate to an emergency was perplexing to the gathered crowd, yet her certainty was infectious, and whispers of uncertainty began to ripple through onlookers. Darnell, standing amid the growing tension, felt a blend of shock and disbelief at the drastic measure Linda had taken. The market, usually a haven for neighborly chatter and community spirit, now bore witness to a conflict that seemed disproportionate to the original plea. For Darnell, the incident had quickly evolved from a simple disagreement into an alarming battle of ethics and social expectation. His mind raced with questions: had his humble refusal truly sparked an emergency, or was this simply an overreaction fueled by deep-seated frustration and fear for Melissa's future? As moments stretched into what felt like hours, the distant wail of sirens began to intrude upon the din of the market. The atmosphere shifted further. What had begun as a verbal altercation was transforming into a public spectacle that mirrored the fervent emotions of the moment. Linda's accusations of injustice had now taken center stage, and her belief that immediate law enforcement intervention was required left little room for counterargument. To her, the incident was emblematic of a broader social neglect, a call for help from someone trapped in a system that refused to acknowledge her dire circumstances. For Darnell, the situation grew steadily more surreal. The quiet dignity with which he had always carried his values was now pitted against a maelstrom of emotional pleas and impassioned accusations. In that charged instant, every eye in the market was fixed on him, and every whispered conversation served as a reminder of how easily everyday interactions could spiral out of control. Linda's fervor, coupled with the dramatic call for emergency services, created an environment where the lines between personal conflict and public concern blurred dangerously. As the police sirens neared, the seriousness of the situation began to dawn on everyone present. For Linda, the escalating confrontation was a justified crusade against what she saw as systemic neglect, a single mother's desperate bid to secure a better future for her daughter, Melissa. For Darnell, it was a moment that underscored the sometimes overwhelming pressures of living in a society where every minor misstep could be magnified into a full-blown crisis. The notion that a financial disagreement, however symbolic, could trigger an official emergency left him contemplating the deeper complexities that now defined human interaction. Amid the growing tension and rapidly approaching authorities, both Darnell and Linda braced themselves for the inevitable intrusion of the law into their personal battle. The market, once a place of communal joy and simple exchanges, had now transformed into a stage where modern conflicts were played out with high stakes and unyielding emotions. Each participant, from the agitated Linda to the steadfast Darnell, recognized that the next moments would set precedents far beyond a single transaction. They would reveal truths about the community, about social responsibility, and about the boundaries of personal autonomy in an increasingly interconnected world. Before long, the calming yet authoritative presence of Officer Reynolds emerged at the scene. As the police arrived, the once escalating chaos began to recede into a cautious hush. Officer Reynolds stepped forward with an air of quiet determination and addressed the heated crowd that had gathered around Darnell and Linda. His calm demeanor and measured tone provided an immediate sense of order, creating a stark contrast to the storm of emotions that had just erupted in the heart of the farmers' market. Officer Reynolds began by explaining, clearly and succinctly, that Darnell's decision to withhold his iPhone 16 Pro Max for a mere $1 did not constitute any violation of the law. His words, delivered with a firmness that resonated through the still uncertain air, sought to reassure everyone present that the matter at hand was not an issue of criminal conduct, but rather a personal dispute born of misinterpreted intentions. It is not illegal, he explained, to decline a sale or to assess the value of one's personal property in a way that aligns with your own values. The officer's explanation was deliberate and empathetic, aimed at de-escalating the situation by clarifying the boundaries between personal choices and legal obligations. Linda, still fuming and visibly shaken by the unfolding events, found herself confronted by the rational authority of the law. Officer Reynolds reminded her that while her concerns for her daughter Melissa and her aspirations for her future were understandable, calling 911 for a matter that was a simple disagreement was a misuse of emergency services reserved for genuine threats and pressing crises. As he continued, Officer Reynolds carefully detailed how emergency lines functioned and underscored the importance of preserving these resources for dire emergencies. His words carried the weight of both legal authority and sincere concern for the community's well-being. When 911 is used improperly, he stated, it not only diverts resources from actual emergencies, but it also diminishes trust in our community safety systems. His measured tone helped to bring a semblance of clarity to an otherwise emotionally charged confrontation. For Darnell, the officer's intervention provided an unexpected reprieve from the barrage of accusatory remarks and the swelling crowd of onlookers. With the authority of law now clearly on his side, Darnell found himself able to stand a little taller, his conviction reaffirmed by the clarity with which Officer Reynolds had presented the situation. The presence of the police, far from intensifying the conflict, had the effect of recontextualizing it as an unfortunate but not unlawful exchange between neighbors. Linda, although still visibly agitated, was forced to listen as Officer Reynolds firmly but kindly advised her against further escalation through the misuse of emergency services. His calm demeanor, paired with his clear instructions, left little room for the continuation of personal vendettas. Instead, his words served as a public reminder of the importance of clear boundaries, reminding everyone that while passion and desperation have their place in human discourse, they must be tempered by respect for the law and for the responsibilities that come with being a member of a community. As the officer concluded his explanation, he reiterated that any further misuse of emergency resources in similar contexts could result in more severe legal repercussions. His final words resonated deeply with the onlookers. A call for all to reflect on the balance between personal conviction and social responsibility. In that critical moment at the farmers' market, Officer Reynolds did more than just quell a brewing storm, he restored a measure of order and reason, demonstrating that even in the midst of intense interpersonal conflict, reason and compassion could prevail through the steady hand of the law. Following Officer Reynolds' intervention, the atmosphere at the market shifted toward a tentative calm. Yet, the situation was not entirely resolved. Linda Leppert's earlier actions, calling 911 under circumstances that, as the officer explained, did not warrant such an emergency response, had set in motion a series of legal ramifications that could not be ignored. Officer Reynolds, with his unwavering professionalism, informed Linda that misuse of emergency services was not only irresponsible but also a punishable offense under local law. In a quiet yet firm tone, he explained to Linda that while her concern for her daughter Melissa was understandable, the decision to escalate a personal dispute into a call for emergency intervention breached protocols that protect community resources. When emergency services are misused, Officer Reynolds stated, it undermines the ability of these services to respond effectively when real danger strikes. His words carried an implicit warning, a reminder that actions taken in moments of heightened emotion could have serious legal consequences. As the crowd listened, a sense of gravity settled over the assembled onlookers. Darnell, who had been at the center of this tumultuous encounter, looked on with a mixture of relief and lingering concern. The legal system, as personified by Officer Reynolds, was now actively reasserting its authority. Linda's misstep was being addressed not as a punitive measure against a desperate individual, but as a necessary step in safeguarding the integrity of public emergency services. With the matter now in the hands of law enforcement, it became clear that actions born of emotion must still submit to the structured norms of society. Officer Reynolds continued his explanation, outlining the steps that would follow for cases of emergency misuse. Linda was issued a citation, a formal reprimand intended to underscore the seriousness of her actions. The citation served as both a legal record of the incident and a cautionary signal to others that the community would not tolerate the reckless endangerment of resources meant for genuine crises. It was a decision steeped in the belief that while every individual's circumstances are unique, the collective safety net must be protected from undue strain. In this moment, the market's atmosphere, once bubbling with spontaneous energy, took on a reflective quality. The citation was not issued out of malice, but as a necessary correction, a reminder that even in a society driven by compassion, rules and responsibilities maintain the delicate balance required for communal harmony. Darnell, though still reeling from the events of the day, felt a twinge of solace knowing that the law had intervened in a measured fashion. His personal stance on valuing his cherished possessions was reinforced by a justice system that upheld the right to make choices without undue external coercion. Linda, for her part, was left to grapple with the consequences of her emotional outburst. The citation was a stark reminder that impulsive actions, no matter how well-intentioned, could lead to repercussions that extended far beyond the immediate moment of crisis. Officer Reynolds' measured approach emphasized that every member of the community was accountable, and that the misuse of emergency services could not be brushed aside as an isolated incident of desperation. As the formalities concluded, the overarching message became clear: the sanctity of emergency resources, and by extension, the trust that the community placed in these resources, was paramount. For Darnell and the assembled onlookers, the legal consequences that Linda now faced were not simply a personal rebuke, but a reaffirmation of the principles that ensured fairness and order in modern society. Through this incident, the community was reminded that, while emotions may run high and personal struggles may feel insurmountable, the framework of the law provided a necessary counterbalance to help guide behavior and protect the common good. With the legal proceedings now in motion and the tension of the earlier confrontations slowly dissipating, a surprising moment of kindness emerged amidst the commotion. As Darnell stood on the corner of the busy farmers' market, still processing the whirlwind of emotions and the consequences that had unfolded, a local vendor stepped forward with an unexpected gesture of goodwill. This vendor, well known in the community for his generous spirit and for offering small acts of kindness, presented Darnell with a complimentary basket of freshly picked tomatoes. The act, simple as it may have seemed, carried significant weight in that moment. It was more than just a token of appreciation, it was a silent commendation of Darnell's quiet dignity in the face of an otherwise chaotic encounter. The vendor's gesture served as a reminder that even in times of conflict and misunderstanding, there remained a deep current of community support. A network of individuals who recognized the value of standing up for one's beliefs, even when those beliefs placed one at odds with the prevailing tide of emotion. Darnell received the basket with a measured smile, a mixture of gratitude and lingering sadness for how the day's events had unfolded. The tomatoes, with their vibrant hues and fresh, earthy fragrance, symbolized the power of simple, honest rewards amid a complex and sometimes harsh reality. As he cradled the basket, Darnell felt reassured that his integrity had not gone unnoticed by those who believed in the importance of standing by personal values. Around him, other market-goers began to offer their own expressions of support. Whispers of admiration and nods of solidarity swept through the small crowd, affirming that what had transpired earlier was not just an isolated incident, but rather a microcosm of the everyday struggles between personal principle and external pressures. In that communal moment, the basket of tomatoes took on a larger significance, a tangible symbol of community resilience and mutual respect. As Darnell resumed his stroll through the market, the kindness he had just experienced bolstered his spirit. The incident, which had begun as a daunting public spectacle, was gradually being rewritten by small gestures of neighborly care. With each step, the memory of the earlier confrontation softened, replaced by the reassuring knowledge that even in adverse circumstances, there were people who valued fairness, integrity, and the simple rewards of compassion. Later in the day, with the echoes of the morning's tumult still whispering in his mind, Darnell sought solace in quiet reflection. The events at the farmers' market had been both bewildering and profoundly unsettling, yet amid the chaos, moments of unexpected kindness and support had shone through. Determined to reclaim a sense of balance, Darnell decided to share his experience with his longtime friend, Eric, a trusted companion whose calm insights had often helped him navigate life's unpredictable twists. Meeting at a modest, neighborhood cafe, Darnell and Eric settled into a quiet booth away from the lingering bustle of the day. Over steaming cups of coffee, they recounted the unusual series of events, from the fervent demand at the market to the eventual intervention by law enforcement, and even the small reward offered by the compassionate vendor. As Darnell recounted the details, his voice was imbued with a mix of incredulity and introspection. He reflected on how a seemingly trivial dispute had morphed into an elaborate drama, one that touched upon themes of personal value, social justice, and the intricate balance between individual rights and communal responsibility. Eric listened intently, nodding in quiet empathy as Darnell described the rapid escalation of events, the stern warning from Officer Reynolds, and the sobering legal consequences faced by Linda Leppert. In that intimate conversation, the complexities of the day were laid bare. They discussed the subtle interplay between modern technology and tradition, how a tool as ubiquitous as the iPhone 16 Pro Max could spark heated debates about worth and opportunity. For Darnell, it was a reminder that in a world defined by rapid technological advances and shifting societal norms, the importance of staying true to oneself and one's values remained a steadfast beacon. As the conversation deepened, a sense of catharsis began to settle over the two friends. Through shared laughter and a few reflective silences, they celebrated the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Darnell's recounting of the day's extraordinary events was punctuated with moments of humor that helped ease the weight of the conflict. Their dialogue, rich with insights and personal anecdotes, ultimately transformed an otherwise painful experience into a source of mutual growth and understanding. By the time the afternoon light began to wane, both Darnell and Eric felt a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to honor the small victories and learn from the challenges that life inevitably presented. Their celebration was not about reveling in drama but about reclaiming a personal peace, re-establishing connections, and embracing the reality that life's true value was found not in material possessions, but in the shared moments of genuine human connection. And so, in that quiet celebration of resilience and friendship, the tumultuous events of the day began to recede, leaving behind the soft glow of hope and the promise of a better tomorrow. Just as tranquility began to reassert itself in Darnell's day, an ominous development disrupted the fragile peace he had fought to restore. Later that evening, as dusk settled over the neighborhood, Darnell received a terse and threatening message on his phone. The message, laced with anger and menace, was unmistakably from Linda Leppert. Its contents were a bitter reminder that although the police intervention and legal proceedings had temporarily stilled the chaos of the morning, the personal animosity simmering beneath the surface was far from extinguished. In the message, Linda's words cut sharply through the calm night, rebuking Darnell for his refusal and decrying what she perceived as a personal betrayal. The threat was explicit. She warned of further actions if he did not reconsider his stance. Darnell, though already exhausted by the day's events, felt a renewed sting of anxiety with every word he read. The quiet assurance he once drew from his faith in community harmony now wavered in the face of an escalating personal feud. Without delay, Darnell contacted the police again. His heart pounded with a mixture of fear and frustration as he reported the threatening communication, describing the menacing tone and the explicit nature of Linda's words. Officer Reynolds, who had already restored order earlier in the day, assured him that his safety was paramount. However, the new threat underscored a sobering reality. The conflict had now transcended a mere market disagreement and was morphing into a personal vendetta that could potentially spiral out of control. Darnell reinforced his vigilance by activating enhanced security measures at his home. The protective protocols were a pragmatic response to a danger that felt far too real. Streetlights, security cameras, and even a new lock system became silent guardians of his peace of mind as he resolved to stay alert. The lingering threat of Linda's anger left Darnell in a state of heightened awareness, where every unexpected sound or shadow in the dark could set off alarms in his mind. In the midst of this turmoil, Darnell also found solace in the supportive messages from friends and neighbors. Their encouragement reinforced that his decision, rooted in personal values and upheld by the law, was not without merit. Yet, the constant buzz of uncertainty and the weight of the threat kept him vigilant. Each time his phone buzzed with a new notification, he braced himself, wondering if it might be another hostile message from Linda. Ultimately, as the night deepened, Darnell resolved to confront this dark chapter with caution and resilience. He re-emphasized his commitment to personal integrity and, bolstered by the support of his community, prepared to navigate the challenge ahead. The renewed threat, though unnerving, reminded him that the quest for justice and personal dignity was often fraught with unexpected obstacles. And so, with the night as his quiet witness, Darnell vowed to remain steadfast, guarding his peace and continuing to live a life defined by the values he held dear.